Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex, and yet again, this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Jack Kirby Monday, so we're looking at the next issue of his Fantastic Four run from the early 60s. This is issue number 2. Once again, I'm joined by Nick. Say hello, Nick. Once again, I'm setting you up. You're supposed to say hello, Nick. But anyways, we'll see if maybe when we do the review of issue 3, Nick has picked up on that.
Hi, Nick.
There we go. Well, that was practice. This is kind of an iconic cover for the Fantastic Four. I like the coloring, like the bold kind of yellow in the back is almost harkens back to a lot of Golden Age comics. They used to use yellow a lot in the Golden Age for some reason. I kind of like that.
Especially Batman, Superman comics.
Yeah, right. Like a lot of the covers too. Like it's kind of a Golden Age thing. I don't know. Like someone actually mentioned about how like the yellow from Golden Age comics always stays nice and bright. Like there was something about the quality of the ink that was better before the war than after.
It was lead based.
Maybe that's what it is. So yeah, don't start sniffing or licking your Golden Age comics. So I'll read the little description here because that's a pretty kind of typical stuff for those kind of comics from back in the day. They're fun usually. So let's see what it says here, and that's probably Stan Lee's work there. That I would credit him with. They had taken a deadly oath to destroy the Fantastic Four. They were merciless, they were inhuman, they had power far greater than Earthmen. They were Skrulls from outer space. So, the first appearance of the Skrulls in this issue, right? Okay, page 1. The thing has an ear. It's very odd.
Very, very odd. I just noticed that.
Yeah. So he's got still got that weird lizard texture.
An elbow?
Crocodile. Yeah, it's I mean, I guess you can get away with it.
Is his bone bent through the rock?
With his texture, he's still working it out. He's still kind of sometimes to me almost looks like, if he was green, kind of like Killer Croc at this point.
Yeah, it looks like he's scaly rather than rocky.
Exactly, right? There's like a reptilian kind of thing to it.
Especially here,
Yeah, and the inking's not too great either, I gotta say. Like, it's pretty, like... this is a fairly good quality reprint, I would say, and the inking just seems like choppy and quick. And
is it Joe Sinnott who's inking at this point?
Not yet. No, I don't. Like we had the list in the beginning, so I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint actually in these first few issues. They're not even sure 100%.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So, I like this background element of this. I what I assume is some sort of oil rig, maybe, or some sort of station out.
It's nicely drawn.
Well, and I see hints of like what Kirby's going to start using more and more of later. Like, it's still fairly realistic, but he's going a little bit like pushing and adding stuff and making it a little more sci-fi, and we'll get more and more of that as it moves along, right? Fantastic Four is often credited as being the series that kind of inspired Kirby to go in that direction with all the tech and the sci-fi elements and whatever. So we'll slowly see that over the course of these reviews. I like this fish. I know that sounds weird, but I think it's well drawn. And there's just one down here. Like, this guy's like, hey, he's like, you're taking a picture. What are you doing? I don't know why. I just kind of had that. This whole sequence, so I forget where I saw this, but someone was talking about this where it's like the Fantastic Four are still seen as menaces or confused as menaces, right? Like, I'm assuming this is the Skrulls, obviously.
I think so,
right?
Yeah.
But it's like it's trying to still play into that idea that we're still in a monster comic or an Atlas comic, and that the Fantastic Four are to be feared, right? Basically, or that they're menaces to society. So, did he melt a sculpture?
Yeah.
This priceless statue took 5 years to carve out of solid marble, and now. I love this on the nose dialogue.
Oh, he melted marble.
He can get that hot. I don't know how hot it's got to be to melt marble. That's got to be pretty darn hot.
Going back to Jack drew and Stanley wrote, but why was the Jack drew it as metal, brass?
That would make sense.
Possibly, right? And
yeah.
Not marble.
That's a good point, actually. So Nick is saying is like, Jack probably intended this to be, some sort of metal, copper, bronze, or something. And that makes sense that it melts, but then so Stanley throws in that it's marble. That doesn't make sense.
How many statues in your cities are made of marble? They're all brass or some type of alloy.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, rarely are giant statues made of marble. So there's a disconnect between the dialogue. Hey, I like that point. That's a good example. Like, Mr. Fantastic, no matter what, you can't convince me that he's not goofy. Mr. Fantastic is almost just better when he's not using his powers and just being
And,
smart,
yeah.
right? I feel that way. Some old kind of like, this is where I see in the background.
This looks like a steam engine, you know, some old ship.
Or yeah, but
Yeah.
like you know, in a paper mill or something. Like I've seen machines like this, and I see where like he's still doing a fairly realistic interpretation, but slowly and surely this is gonna morph into Kirby tech, right?
Exactly.
This is not at all a Kirby aesthetic. Just a weird kind of choice for the. I like it. It's kind of interesting. It's very 60s, I guess, but just a weird choice that I don't think that's the inker. I don't think that's Kirby.
Jack was on a deadline.
He probably just drew outlines of the buildings and then, yeah, like. So, I feel like you know, not that I've read the whole run, but the periods of the Fantastic Four, from what I can tell from here, obviously it makes sense that early on maybe it's a little more goofy. Things like this, the Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards probably uses his powers more often, but as it goes along, I do feel that he uses them less and less, is more into using gizmos and his intellect and stuff, right? I love these designs for the SKRULLS, plural. But again, they're very reminiscent of any kind of like 60s TV show with the, you know, the henchmen that are all similar either in dress or appearance.
Yeah,
so very 60s.
Yeah, or the very the 12 for a dime kind of creatures. They're disposable.
Yeah, exactly. Minions.
Stormtroopers.
There you go. Yeah, this disguise, I don't know, like the thing just it's still from panel to panel looks
every time
different.
time I see the thing in disguise, I always think of Raphael from TMNT in disguise.
That's probably where they got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like things, I know the thing has 3 fingers and a thumb eventually, right?
He's got 4.
Well, he's got 4 on this one and a thumb, but he's only got 3 and a thumb here. So what's going on there?
Maybe a pinky. It's hiding behind the other.
Could be, but you know, again, he's drawn really fast. I'm not going to criticize the king.
Jack's on a deadline.
They also looked like slightly like penises, I will say, with weird dents in them. I had to throw that out there.
They never expected their comics to be under a microscope.
Syphilitic phalluses. Moving on.
Right?
Yeah. He looks, you know what? No offense to burn victims, but he does look like a burn victim, I think, in these early comics. Like I was trying to put my finger on it, and he looks like he's slightly melted, like a candle. No?
A wax candle, yeah.
Yeah, like these two especially. Like, and the way he was drawing the mouth, it's just kind of saggy, and I don't know how else to describe it.
It's not the thing that we all know and recognize.
No. Sorry, but like, wow. Like, how far away is that plane? How fast is it going? And he's just going to stretch and like hang on to it? Is that the thing? While the composition of my own body atoms has been so changed that I can stretch and change myself into almost any conceivable shape. Okay, that still doesn't explain how your hands can catch up to an airplane.
It doesn't explain why he's stretching his arms to the plane either.
There's that too. I don't even know what's going on in this story.
Disconnect between Stan and Jack.
There you go.
This is nice. I've always found how very creative he gets with drawing her. You know, it's just dotted outline.
Well, listen,
to symbolize invisibility.
What are you gonna do in 1961, right? With like the limited methods and stuff. Yeah, I think he found a pretty good solution. I think it changes though, and like again, even the depiction of her powers are gonna change because you could, you know, that's not bad. This idea that like, you know, the colorist colored this, you know, see through and just left it white. Yeah. I think that works really well. So the Fantastic Four have been imprisoned here.
And like again, no costume yet.
Yeah, not at all. Is this? Oh,
it's like he's wearing shoes.
It's funny that he's got like dress pants and shoes on. That to me is hilarious. But is this? You've read Sin City, the first one with Marv?
Yeah, of course. It looks exactly.
And the movie, right?
Yeah.
Where he's trying to bang, like. I gotta believe that Frank Miller saw that, or it's like inspired by it. Because there's something even in the layout of it. Some of these shots that they chooses. Have to look at that. Check out Sin City. Pretty similar. Yeah, still trying to figure out how to... Even the Human Torch, right? He's going to change a lot. Here he just looks like, yeah...
He's not the lines.
Yeah,
that's how he looks there.
Yeah. It's more of a texture than fire. Yeah. No, he's still drawn him kind of like the Golden Age torch is what's going on. Exactly. Right? Okay. Okay, I gotta say, man, these goofy uses of Reed Richards' power. So he's
He
stretched
fit through
like a
a
screw
bolt.
hole,
Yeah, a screw hole.
a bolt hole. Wow, that's pretty
So we
funny.
could assume he can fit in a
Yeah.
butthole.
Listen, unfortunately, the Fantastic Four, the 3 out of 4 aren't bad. Like the Invisible Power, the Things, Rock, whatever. All the fantastic, like Mr. Fantastic, his powers just are kind of goofy. They just are. There's not like you can't. There's not a lot of ways to make that cool, other than some sort of bootleg Fantastic Four comic. One day someone will create where he starts using those powers with his genitalia.
That's what makes him Mr. Fantastic.
Well, I figure it's gonna have to. That's a good idea for a bootleg comic. All right, so is the Thing in disguise like most of these early issues? Is that what's like? Is that going to continue? I guess until they get the costumes right and they become a bit more public.
Yeah, they get the costumes, and I guess it's easier to draw him like that than always the textured rock or whatever.
Oh, maybe yeah. Maybe it's just more visually more fun. Uh, Something weird about this panel here. All of a sudden, it's much more silhouette. Kind of cool. Bold choice. Okay, it's not a gun, it's a flare. Yeah, a lot of this words in the sky here. First issue, second issue as well. Kind of a weird trope.
Right?
Yeah, every once in a while it's just I like this. I like this panel here. It's kind of creepy. And even this here, like this almost feels more like Steve Ditko somehow, like the mouth. I don't know.
Honestly, who could say that they didn't talk to each other while drawing this? After all, they were in the same office, in the same building space.
Yeah, I don't know if I've read into this. It seems like they mostly just went into the office to drop off their pages. They all seem to work at home. This whole Marvel bullpen idea apparently was like again kind of invented by Stan Lee. The perspective is all screwy in this image. It's cool, it's fun, but like there's just a lot of weirdness going on. I mentioned it before we actually shot the video. It almost feels like this guy was drawn like with his feet on the floor and the Thing was added after. I don't know. There's just weirdness going on. There's the Invisible One doing some judo. Oh yeah, and this thing here we talked about too. We thought that was kind of weird, but then in the dialogue, there's only one thing to do. They masqueraded as us, so the only thing we come up with is trying to represent that duality of the masked and unmasked characters, I guess in this case.
The Italian scroll.
Oh yeah, hey, my markers. There we go. Yeah, I was saying this guy just for some reason to me he must be Italian. He's wearing the Roman helmet. He's got the mustache, the angry shopkeeper look. See, sometimes in these, like, I feel like we're getting tinges of what we'll get later with Kirby, even at this small size here. Like the look of the characters, the helmet and everything.
Yeah.
Someone got the coloring wrong.
With Thor, I think in a lot of Thor comics,
Yeah, those kind of designs, the helmets and stuff.
Yeah, very horns and stuff, capes.
We're still into, like, I would say Jack Kirby is still doing, I don't want to call it generic, but like run-of-the-mill kind of designs. Every once in a while he's still got like his very interesting, monster designs that only he can do. But I still feel it's kind of in line with everything else. I'll always compare it to this cartoon that I saw from Hanna-Barbera, Birdman, and then there's the Galaxy Trio, who actually remind me a lot of the Fantastic Four. And they were created a little bit after the Fantastic Four, so I think they're inspired by them. But if you watch that show, it's almost like you get the same kind of characters and the look and the art of it that you get in these early 60s Fantastic Four. Of course, the giant ants, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
That's definitely 50s sci-fi.
So this, I remember the story, though, is what that Reed Richards is showing him comic books, old, like, Atlas Monster comic books, to the Skrulls, and telling him that these are like representations of actual creatures that exist on Earth. And that actually scares the Skrulls into like wanting to leave Earth or something. That's basically the storyline from this issue. Love how their spaceship is like a water tower, basically. It's pretty funny. Okay, so already in issue number 2, we're getting the Thing turns back into Ben Grimm trope. Wow. Does not look like himself here, man. Like that, I would never guess
No,
is
that
the
looks
thing
terrible,
if I
man.
saw that out of context. Well, it's funny. I kind of like it. It's grotesque.
Looks like he's melting rather than.
Another candle look. Yeah, for sure. Here too. Here he looks. Oh man, he looks like that actor in Reservoir Dogs, the old guy.
Oh my God!
You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Seinfeld, Elaine's dad in
Yes,
Seinfeld.
yes.
I forget his name. He's a little crazy apparently.
In the show,
but,
Joe.
yeah,
Joe.
but he looks like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got that voice. All right, some more bold yellow like that. Yeah, Kirby always had this thing. He did it throughout the 70s and stuff, splitting his comic into like chapters. But here they're sequential. Later on, he'll do stuff where like he throws you into the action in the first chapter, and then kind of 6 pages of action. Then you go back and see what happened to lead to that moment, basically. Oh, that was quick. Jeez, 2 pages. Poor Ben Grimm. Some more great Mr. Fan. What is he doing? He's catching a bird. It's these goofy moments. All right. Well, as we've said, oh, well, there you go. Last page.
Yeah.
Thankfully, because we mentioned before these first few issues. I mean, they're still feeling things out. Not the best. Reed Richards himself disapproves in this image. And I was just telling Nick that this storyline actually, this is the very beginning of the Marvel Universe, issue 2 of Fantastic Four, right? Pretty darn close to the beginning. The Skrulls are turned into cows basically at the end of the story, and they forget that they're Skrulls, right? So they use their shape-shifting powers and are mind wiped. So now they just think they're cows. And Mark, was it Grant Morrison and Mark Millar? I think they both worked on it. I might be mistaken. One or the other, or both. I think it was both. Created this series in the 90s where people eat the meat from these cows and develop weird superpowers. It was something thrill kill cult or something. I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure if you write Mark Millar, Grant Morrison, Skrulls, you'll find it. There'll be something out there in the internet world for you.
It's not a thing.
Yeah, he still looks a little lizardy, a little melty. I still think, I mean, it looks cool. It's a Kirby monster is basically what it is,
Yeah,
right?
or like it looks like a generic, like just big bad, like a 3-4 them.
Yeah, he's definitely meant to be scary for sure. And the Thing eventually kind of gets more kind of slightly more lovable looking, I think. Even in his look, even though he's made out of rock and stuff, not quite as menacing when they kind of work out his final look.
He's not our Jewish Ben Grimm yet.
Yeah, well, he does. They've said the inspiration is the golem, right? So he does very much come from Jewish legend, I guess. Once again, we got 4 toes here. We got 3 here. All of a sudden, okay, there could be a finger back there, but it really does look like he's only got 2, like the Ninja Turtles. But hey, what are you gonna do? Still a pretty cool image. Presenting the first of a series, the Fantastic Four pinup page featuring in this issue the Thing, the strongest man-like creature on the face of the earth. That's a weird way to describe it. Man-like. Don't miss Amazing Adult Fantasy. Like this, I gotta say that Amazing Adult Fantasy, no matter what, the name always sounded kind of dirty to me.
It is
like
porn.
It doesn't, right? Like it leads me to think that, even though I don't think it ever was that or even close to it. But the name, I think there's a reason they changed it eventually. So there you go, guys. We'll go back to the cover. That is our review of Fantastic Four number 2. General comments, still a little bit generic. Not standing out quite as much from all the other stuff back in the early 60s. But soon it will, with the advent of the superhero costumes and a slightly more sci-fi kind of bent to the Fantastic Four.
Definitely not as iconic as issue 1.
No, for sure. I think most of what we actually think of as iconic for the Fantastic Four, okay, issue 1 always because it's the first one, but that'll come a bit later. Again, once the sci-fi kind of adventures and the cosmic adventures kind of take over, I think it'll probably get a lot more interesting. So there you have it, guys. Our review of Fantastic Four number 2. If you're watching the videos and you are subscribed, thank you so much for being there. Really appreciate it. If you are not subscribed yet and are watching the videos, please do so below. It only takes a second, really helps out the channel, helps get us out there to other like-minded people who are into comic books. So everyone out there, hope you have an awesome day. Nick, anything? Finish up?
Bye, Nick.
That's a good one. King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at kingcomics.ca, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.
Like